so well with our audience, and like you said, it ranges on, to all people. But why do you think black women in particular? I mean, there's so many other women that are, there's other types of characters portrayed on the show, positive, all positive. But why do you think your character, is it that she's young, she's a single mom, she's got her own business? I mean,
she's married.
I'm sorry, not single mom, I'm sorry.
You get her mixed up with me. Actually, I think because, okay, on one hand you have Terry's character, who is completely career-minded woman. And then you have Vanessa's character, Maxine, who is basically a homemaker. And then you have what I think is probably the middle ground, Bird, who is what most women today are trying to do, which is maintain a family and a career. So I think that's why, part of the reason why a lot of women can relate to the character.
That's fabulous. So now, what is it that you liked about Bird? Like, what is it that you really like about her and identified with? Because I read in articles that you said, she's got two older sisters and I've got two older sisters, and there are a lot of similarities.
Very.
So, but I know when you're acting, you still have to put yourself into a role. What is it that you really liked about Bird that you're gonna miss?
Well, I liked her whole the challenges that she was met with. Again, trying to maintain a family, trying to maintain a career, trying to maintain her relationships with her sisters. Those are all challenges that, definitely I face in my life, and I'm sure a lot of women face in their lives as well. So that's one of the things I love about her. Another thing I love about her is that she sort of has her own mind. She'll get opinions from the family. She'll sort of go to the family members and try things, throw things at them, and see what they say. But in the end, she really formulates her own opinion, and she acts out of her own off of her own instincts, really.
Did you have a favorite storyline?
Wow, I had a lot of favorite storylines.
I mean, there was different ones. So you had the stalker, and that was a crazy one. But
Yeah,
it might have been a different departure.
It definitely was a good one. It was a challenging one. But it wasn't one of my favorite, because I just I don't necessarily like to think of myself being snatched out of a car and dragged behind, a van and possibly, assaulted. So it wasn't great for me to do it on set, because emotionally, it took me there. I like the whole everybody getting mad at her for buying this car and thinking she was irresponsible, and her standing up for herself and saying, I own a salon, I'm grown, stop telling me what to do. If I want to have a car, I'll buy a car. I like that whole little arc that they took her through in that.
Now, there was a lot of back and forth, kind of a lesbian undertone that was in there.
I was say that was my favorite.
No, I didn't know. But there was definitely an undertone that was carried from the end of last season, I guess, into the beginning of this one.
Yes.
What did you think about that storyline? Were you involved at all in the creation of it?
I was not involved in any way in the creation of it. However, I welcomed it, and I did embrace it. I got a lot of reaction from that as well, not just from lesbian women, but from a lot of different people. Face it, these people out there have these sexual preferences. There are also people out there who are just experimenting or who are just curious, and then there are some people who kind of just get caught in a kiss. I'm not one of those people, by the way, but it does happen, and our job as actors are to portray correct characters, and if you don't portray the full gamut of what's out there, then you're not really being true to humanity. So I was glad that they touched that storyline, and it was great doing it with Terry Vaughn, because it was her foray into the world too, and so we were both kind of like, well, I've never kissed a woman. I'm nervous too. We both were kind of afraid to tell each other that we were nervous, but when we found out we were both nervous, that made it easier for us. And in the end, it was just like, oh, okay, it was just a kiss. Yeah, all right.
I'm sure you got some negative and positive feedback on it. How did the fans? How did it shake down from the fans? More negative or positive?
I think more positive. The negative, I don't really look at it so much as negative as people would just say things like, why do they have Bird kissing a woman? What is she doing? And why? She's married. It was that kind of thing more so than, I don't think it was anything against gay or lesbian or anything like that. It was just more so, well, she's married and why is she being so irresponsible and immature?
Now, how did you guys end the show? I mean, we're hearing all these things about Friends ending and this one and that one. I mean, did you do anything special? What happened on either the last day of the set or something maybe special that you guys as the cast may or may not have done?
Well, we pretty much came full circle. We began the very first episode with, and this is shooting wise, we began the very first episode with a family dinner scene, and we ended the very last episode with a family dinner scene. So I'm gonna cry. And it was really, really emotional. Because in essence, we were saying goodbye to this little journey that we took together. And when it all started, we didn't necessarily know how it was going to touch people. And then when it ended, we were in this place of realization of how it actually touched our community, and how it touched our lives and how it changed our lives. And so it was really, really. It was beautiful and fun and sad and happy. All of this was just all this stuff at the same time. So.
And after the camera stopped rolling, were you guys still kind of there, like talking or something, or?
Once the camera stopped rolling on the last scene, we were all in the Joseph family. Well, actually, the Van Adams, which was the big house, Mama's house. We were actually all in the dining room, and they kept counting down to the last shot. They were going, okay, one more shot till the final wrap of Soul Food, and we were all it was starting to build, and we were all trying to stay really strong through the scenes, and we were all telling each other, I'm not going to cry, I'm going to cry with her, it's great, it's happy time, I'm not going to cry. And then Salim, who was directing the last episode, I can't believe Salim was directing the last episode, and I remember he walked into the room, and he took a deep breath because he was filled up too, and as soon as I saw him take that breath, I was like, oh God, I can't. And then I just saw everybody around me start to get emotional. And then all the cast members kind of said a little piece and thank you to the crew, and how wonderful it was for us to all be together, and that we really felt like we had an extended family, and it was really nice.
That's beautiful. That's really good. I know in interviews, I know you get tired of people saying, oh, are you guys really friends? Are you really close? But a lot of times, I mean, we all know there's casts where people, oh, we love each other to death, and they don't get along. And it really comes across as so sincere. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who just walk away from a set like, all right then, and just leave.
See you when I see you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have you seen everybody? Do you keep in touch?
Have I seen everybody? Well, let's see. I talk to Rockman once a week at least. Nicole, Vanessa, and I are always going out to lunch. We go shopping together. We're on the phone three-way, all the time, probably like 3 or 4 times a week. Spoke to Darren yesterday. We see each other all, and that was the thing. For the end of Soul Food, it wasn't the end of our friendships. We knew that, so we definitely weren't sad about that. It was just the end of that particular chapter in our lives, and we knew no matter how wonderful a job we would come across or not, that it would never be exactly that same way again, and that was truly a blessing.
Any thoughts of a movie to follow it up? I mean, there was a movie that kind of started the whole thing. Would there be a wrap-up, or
We talked about that, actually. We and several of the cast members have we should do another movie. But I think what happens after that is you start to cross the line between the original film, because I think the original film spawned the series, and then people were able to separate the series from the film.
Sure.
I think if you take the series and then turn that into another film, then it becomes a little tricky. So I'm not sure that that's going to happen.
Now, you talked about the next steps. So the obvious question is, where do you go from here? You guys wrapped in what month?
Back in, I think it was late September, early October.
Okay, so you've been done since like the fall.
Yes.
What have you been working on? What are you up to?
Well, the first thing I did was I went home and, I went and got every relaxation, massage, and beauty treatment spa, sit down and don't do anything I could find. Because, working on 1-hour dramas is a pretty grueling schedule. Spent some time with my family. And, got to know my friends again, because I had been away for 4 years. And then I wrote a script. And because, I had such a wonderful time on Soul Food, and I know great roles like that don't just come along every day. And I said, you know what, there are things inside me that I want to express, and there are things about stories about young black female that I want to tell and that we need to hear. And so I said, I can't necessarily wait for somebody to come along and write it. I don't know if there are other black women out there writing it, and I can't, there's no guarantee that. So I need to sit down and do that for myself. So that's the first thing I did, business-wise, when I went back to work. Sat down and wrote myself a script. Second thing I did was I started having meetings and taking meetings with writers, because I started writing another script. After that, I just sat down and reformulated, just started to go, okay, what do I really want to do? What is my game plan? What is my next short-term goal? I know what my long-term goal is, but what is my next short-term goal to get me to my long-term goal? And I did that, and I'm doing that right now.
Now, what is your long-term goal that you're sure of?
Well, I plan on taking the next Oscar. Thank
like
you.
to hear that?
I'm going to do that. And I won't say that that's it, because I'm sure that's certainly not it. But in the big picture, I want to do that. But I want to do that for a project that I produce, and that I star in, and that is more likely than not a biopic. So,
anyone in particular?
I don't really want to say.
Okay, keeping it close.
Yeah.
Now, when you're working on your screenplay and you're working on all this writing, what are the types of stories? What are we missing? What are the stories that we're missing? You talk about young black women. What do you think we need to tap into more? What kind of roles would you like to see out there more for black actresses?
Well, people tend to have a particular view of us, and part of the reason, honestly, why they have that view of us is because they sometimes see only certain sides of us. But we are so multifaceted and so multidimensional, I think, in ways that people don't even understand. A friend of mine always tells me, she says, you don't really do regular black girl acting. And that's the thing I don't want. I've had directors say things to me like, you need to give her more attitude. You need to give her more, things like that. And I'm sort of going to myself, well, what are you getting at? Because I know what I'm giving, and I know what I'm trying to get across here. But sometimes they're not seeing what they think is the attitude, because I'm not displaying what they think of the attitude of a black woman is. And I'm trying to, sort of change those views in the roles.
To really come up with non-stereotypical roles. And would it be things like, I know you don't want to get too much into your script and things, but is it, very drama? Is it romantic comedies? Is it, is it sisterhood,
Well, I mean, you know, for the most part, what I've started with is comedy. And the reason why I think I wanted to jump into comedy, and a particular type of comedy, I'll tell you that in a second, but, or a particular type of character. But I've been doing this